Hello, hello, hello. So we are in the final week of Bachelor in Paradise, and I'm so thankful that you guys have been with me this whole entire time. Please remember to subscribe if this is your first time on the channel so that you can come back for amazing content and fun all about whether it be the Bachelor in Paradise, Bachelor franchise in general, and or some other exciting videos that I plan on doing on this channel. Also, please comment if you'd like to be a part of the conversation, and share the video, and also find my other videos on the channel. So again, thanks for watching, subscribing, liking, and commenting. Let's get to it. This week, there's a lot of stuff going on. This is definitely relationships are shooketh, shook part 4. We're just going to continue it on because we thought we were in the clear with everything happening from last week. If you'd like to check out that video, please look for number 3. And that's going to be week 5, part 2. However, it just continues. So we start off with the fiasco with Kendall and Joe. So with Kendall and Joe, what we see going on with them is just a lot of miscommunication. Kendall is there, and I feel like she has expressed her feelings and emotions in a sense, but they both have quite a silly way of doing so. And so Joe has expressed himself, but he again has done so in a kind of silly sort of way. So with that being said, there's a lot of miscommunication going on and not a lot of clear communication. If you know, I did a video, I'll link it, where I talk about the clear communication, and that was in week 5. So that was relationship part 2. And the reason why I spoke about that is, and I'll link it, is because there seems to be a lot of miscommunication here in Bachelor in Paradise. So anyway, moving back on topic with Kendall and Joe, it malfunctioned because she was overwhelmed and didn't know what to do. She's the type of person, I guess Joe didn't know that kind of needs that advanced information. She needs to process information. She processes things slowly. And that's not to say she's not smart. She just needs that information trickled to her so that she can stay on top of her emotions, I guess, kind of like in control in a sense, if you think about it, and let everything sink in and process it and then know how she's going to respond. That's the type of person that I observed that she is. And so when we get to pretty much the last rose ceremony, and it's time for, you know, the last rose ceremony, I forgot who was giving it. I don't know if it was the guys to the girls or the girls to the guys. We get to the point where we need to know where we're at, because this is going to either end in us leaving together, going our separate ways, or engagement, which is the ultimate form of commitment prior to marriage, of course. And Joe is not really, he's expressing himself, but Kendall's not really taking it seriously, because he's like, we might end up engaged after this. Chuckle, chuckle, chuckle. She's like, I can't, you're not taking it seriously. And he's like, well, how do you feel about that? She didn't really respond. At the end of the day, he was holding back his emotions because he was telling her what she wanted to hear. And that's exactly what he said. He told her, and so many, he said, I've been telling you what you want to hear because, you know, you're always saying that your past boyfriends were suffocating you. He, you know, continues and says, I never wanted you to go out with Leo. I never wanted you to kiss John. He's basically saying he didn't want her to be confused. Sometimes when you throw in other relationships in the mix and there's a some sort of level of physical intimacy that happens, that can be confusing, especially for women. And that's because of the chemicals released and all that stuff. So he didn't want her, the way I interpreted that, to basically get confused about what she wanted and to really meddle with the connection that they built. And I can totally respect that. It seemed like he was really trying to protect her heart. However, I don't know if I really saw him expressing that in the previous weeks. So it was kind of like too little too late. In addition, again, he was telling her what she wanted to hear. So he comes to the conclusion that they're not on the same page and says he's going to leave. She's stunned. Of course, in her mind, she probably wanted to run after him, but it's hard. You know, I can totally understand it being hard for her to process all of her emotions and to then figure out how she wants to respond in that split-second moment when her normal way of processing this sort of emotions is to take in some of it, process it, respond, take in a little bit more, process it, and respond. So with all this floodgate of emotional, communication with someone like her, it was just overwhelming. And I really think she was in shock, and that's why she didn't know how to handle that situation. So I kind of am a little annoyed that it seemed like it was all going on her and that she was taking a responsibility and she had to run after him and like, oh, I got to run after Joe. And I just, no offense, but it takes two to tango. Okay. He admitted himself that he told her what she wanted to hear. So there's some responsibility to be had on his part where he didn't tell her exactly how he felt until the last moment. And I guess he didn't observe her way of processing, information, especially when it comes to matters of the heart. And so I think he needs to take some responsibility there. It's not all her. So to me, it just kind of felt like it was kind of twisted to be put on her shoulders, and it's like, oh, she let the good guy go, and and all this stuff. It was like, look, this is paradise. She dated other people, she kissed other people, guys do it all the time. Why is it made to seem now that she's the one who let him walk when, look, he's a guy, he could have expressed himself. Maybe it was hard for him, but he clearly stated that he was telling her what she wanted to hear, to not pretty much step on her toes and scare her away. But at the last minute, expressing all of that was kind of shocking and did not really work toward the end that I guess he thought it was going to. But anyway, I'm not going to analyze this anymore. I don't want this to be a long analysis, but we'll talk about them a little bit more in the part 2. So moving on, we also see some other couples that just decide to kind of go their separate ways. And that includes Olivia and John. We'll talk a little bit more about them as well. So that was Olivia and John, and also Jordan and I said girl, but I don't even remember who it was. Cassandra. Yes. So New Zealand, Jordan, and Cassandra. So if you remember the previous week, it seemed like she wanted things to move a little faster because he wasn't really making that move. So this is a good question, ladies. If the guy is not making a move on you, is that indicative of his feelings towards you? Or is it just he wants to take things slow? This is a really interesting topic because with their case, she was like, you know, I don't know what's going on with him. He hasn't made the move on me. She kind of brings it up. And he's like, oh, are you asking me to make a move? And then they kiss. It seemed like love was developing, but he's like, even with more time, I don't think anything would develop. I'm like, wow, biting. Like, it was just, she was like, oh, okay. He just seemed like his mind was made up. Like there was nothing going to be going on outside of paradise. Like he had no feelings for her and that was that. And she was like, oh, okay. There's really nothing to talk about. Bye. Shoo and Robbie, you know, he just kind of, obviously they know everything literally just happened for them. And so he was like, well, I can visit you when I'm in town. You can visit me when you're in town. Like they just left it basically very casual. Here's the big one, guys. The reason why I did the big XL is because we're going to talk about Astrid and Kevin. And I just need to do a segue for talking about them alone because literally, guys, this was so sad. It was so sad because she told him and she was telling him from the get-go, like, do not sideline me with this information. She said throughout the whole season, I've been asking you to tell me where your head's at, what you feel, this, that, and the other, yada, yada, yada. And it just seemed fitting right there. And so why are you blindsiding me with Kevin did not want to continue this relationship? He didn't want to continue this relationship. He's like, and to be honest, guys, I didn't really understand what the heck he was saying. If you understood, maybe I didn't just take the proper notes as I normally take. But if you understood what he was saying, please put in a comment section. But he just was basically like, I'm good. Like, let's just go our separate ways. And she was so upset. She did not want to talk. She just walked away. And then he's like, don't leave me here. And I'm thinking to myself, what is she supposed to do? You want her to come back there and comfort you now? You need comfort? You just told her basically that everything that you guys have had so far has not been in existence. It's not there, whatever. So I didn't understand that at all. And let her have her moment. Let her walk away. Let her be upset. There's nothing wrong with this. So that's pretty much how that ended. She didn't want to talk to the girls. They were like, oh, okay. But everyone has to understand. Everyone processes things like this differently. This is a breakup. I know that they all say that you forget about the cameras, but the cameras are still there. This is going to be aired nationwide, probably internationally as well. And, you know, this is tough. Breakups are tough in and of itself. But to have a breakup on that's going to have millions of eyes watching, that's even more tough. So I can totally understand that. So the 3 remaining couples are left to have fantasy suite time. And those couples are Annaliese and Kamil, Krystal and Chris R. And the last couple, how can I forget, Jordan and Jenna. So they all head off to the fantasy suite. And I don't know if this is a new production or something. I've never seen this with Bachelor in Paradise before. It's something new. It's like they kept the cameras in their rooms a little longer. And we see Krystal with the feather. We see someone else, Kamil, getting the sausages. And I don't remember what we saw with Jordan and Jenna, but maybe we just saw them kissing. But I was like, and you know, being like tussling around on the bed. But they kind of just gave us a little bit of a show. I didn't know what that was. I felt a little, I was like, should I be turning now? What's going on? But you know, this is network television, so they can't take things too far. Okay, so that concludes part 1 of week 6. Now we're going to head into the finale of the whole series of season 5, Bachelor in Paradise, right now. So we start with them waking up, obviously, from the night before in the fantasy suites. And everyone seems, you know, totally satisfied with how the night went before. People are happy to have spent that additional time with each other, talking and chatting and playing board games, card games, or whatever they're doing in the fantasy suite. And, you know, then we see the couples have to meet each other in like on the sand. They have like this little setup where they're going to, you know, I guess give the rose or give a ring or both. And so Annaliese and Kamil, there's no engagement. No surprise there. But he wants to take it slow. And Annaliese, obviously, she expresses the fact that she can see herself with this man basically forever. And she doesn't want to rush him. And she wants to take it slow. And she's just happy to leave hand in hand with him. So that's basically what happens there. Then we go to Jordan and Jenna, and Jordan and Jenna get engaged. I'm so happy for them. They definitely fell in love. It was kind of like a love at first sight thing, and they just took things to the next level, and they end up getting engaged. And so really happy for them. And you know, Jenna expressed how she had been hurt in the past, but then she opened her heart to him, and Jordan just said, you know, he's going to be loyal and all that good stuff, and they're engaged. The last couple, Chris R and Krystal, you know, we did see Chris R saying he was nervous about getting engaged to her before she met his family. I'm like, oh my gosh, here we go again. And but then they get on the beach, and he said he's not sure, you know, committing before he threw some sort of verbal like curveball. I don't know. He faked her out, and then he's like, I don't want to leave here. He says something like, I don't want to leave here with your hand. I want to leave here with your heart. And they wind up getting engaged. So that was really nice and so nice. So 2 engaged couples, so happy about that. And the other thing, that was the end. That was the end, guys. So that's the conclusion of the part 2. So now we're just going to go ahead and get into the reunion. Oh gosh. Brace yourself, grab the popcorn, snack, pita chips, whatever you got. Come on back, because yeah, it did go down. It did go down. So let's talk about a few things that happened at the reunion before we get into the, you know, biggest thing of all. But to start out, you know, Olivia and John, they were so cute together, and I really thought that they were going to make a go of it post Paradise, because it seemed like that's where they're headed. But it was revealed on the stage in the reunion that, or after the final rose or whatever they called it, that they were not together. And Olivia just felt like he didn't put a lot of effort into their relationship post weekend trip. It was long distance. John says something like their lifestyles do not match for frequent trips. Huh? I didn't understand that. So then the one who does match for frequent trips, the one who has more flexibility, which is probably him, why can't he just go to her city or fly her out to see him? Like, I don't understand. They seem to both do FaceTime, do texting, do whatever you need to do, Snapchat, whatever, and just stay connected. It's a two-way street, and clearly he just wasn't into it, and she was trying, but she did mention how he was trying, but with Chelsea, and Chelsea sitting up there, smirking a little bit, but he seemed to be into her, so I guess that's where his attention went to, which kind of sucks because she said they had a weekend trip. So hopefully, she didn't put too much of her heart into it to like make it broken. But, and I mean, I just say that because, sometimes you don't know people's intentions. So you have to kind of guard your heart. And Olivia seems like a genuinely sweet girl. And, it would be a shame if she really put like everything into this relationship, and then this guy is like not, he's smiling and I'm Joe, I'm wholesome, but then his intentions for her were not wholesome, potentially. I don't know. So anyway, that was them. The other couple we can talk about, there was a few. Jordan and Benoit had a confrontation, but on the flip side of that, Jordan and David were cordial. They actually gave each other a hug. And if you remember how it started in the season of Bachelor in Paradise, there were no hugs. So that was quite interesting. But back to Jordan and Benoit. So there was a confrontation. I don't know exactly why are they still fighting. Jordan, you're engaged to Jenna. You won, if you want to put it that way in your head. Why are you arguing with Benoit? I guess he couldn't get over the fact that, of course, obviously they played the tapes back, so that brings up old feelings. And then I guess he couldn't get over the fact that Benoit was making moves on his girl, and he didn't like that. And he wanted to, I guess, rehash that with him. I won, you're there, I'm here. And then he's like, what? Benoit says something about Jenna, and it wasn't even anything bad. He just said her name and referencing something that happened. And Jordan got upset. Don't mention her. And he said, something about Claire, like, oh, like how you did Claire. And Benoit got really upset. He's like, don't you talk about Claire. Don't you talk about Claire. And like, he got really mad. So I was like, wow, like maybe there's still something there, Maybe he needs to go knock on Claire's door because maybe she's been waiting for him. I don't know. The thing is that if you go back to my finale of Bachelor Winter Games on my channel, you will understand why I was so shocked to see Benoit on this season of Bachelor in Paradise. I just didn't understand it because it seemed like he and Claire had such a connection, and I was in shock. I was absolutely in shock. I don't understand why they could not make it work. Of course, we go to Joe and Kendall. And again, back to the earlier part of the video, like I said, it takes two to tango. He didn't really express himself clearly throughout the relationship. And again, they were jokey. Nothing was really, there was a lot of things left unsaid. It was too much for her to handle in that one moment. And then he ran. He didn't stay. Now we have to remember, he didn't stay. He's the one who left first. He said, I'm going. He didn't even give her like an opportunity to let it sink in, maybe even talk about it after the rose ceremony. He ran. She was overwhelmed. He didn't express himself clearly. He said he was holding back basically so he wouldn't suffocate her by not telling her what he wanted to say, but telling her what she wanted to hear. And then it all came out in the end, everything he wanted to say for those previous weeks. And it overwhelmed him, and he didn't like the response she was giving him because she wasn't giving him the feedback he hoped to get, and he ran. That's what happened, guys. So it baffles me when it seems as though it's all on Kendall's shoulders, and she was burdened with the opportunity to go and chase down Joe and say, no, I do love you and care for you. And he's all closed off and like, oh, it's going to take me some time to like trust you again. I, erase those memories, type of thing. And of course he's like the golden child of America, and she's like made to seem as a scapegoat. But she was telling her truth in that moment. Yeah. And her truth was being overwhelmed and didn't have a response right then and there. Maybe if he stuck around another 30, 40 minutes, whatever, after the rose ceremony, things might have looked a little different, but he bailed. So I hope that they work that out in their relationship, because you can't just run when someone doesn't give you the type of validation you're hoping to get from them. So anyway, that's what happened with them. Oh, and then just to go back a bit, Joe got offered a spot on Dancing with the Stars. When they came back on the stage after they showed her running to Chicago to express her love to him, and him, responding in a way he did, they spent time together, spent a few nights, enjoyed each other's company, boom, bang, boobity doo. And now they're pretty much a couple. So, hey, it all worked out. I guess it's going to work out the way it's supposed to in the end, despite mistakes on either part. True love prevails. But I will say, I'm glad that I hope they're on the same page, but I have seen interviews with Kendall right after the, what is it called? Sorry, guys. Play the Jeopardy music. Hold on. After the rose, after the taping. And she seemed conflicted. She really seemed conflicted, as though there was still something in her heart. So I don't know. So when I think about them, I'm happy, but I'm still not sure, guys. So I don't know if this is the end and that they're just going to live happily ever after in the sunset, or something else will come up. Who knows? But that's life, right? But we wish them the best. Just going to mention really quickly, Kevin and Astrid. Oh gosh. I don't know. Guys, I don't know what to say about this. Anyway, they seem to be working on their situationship. They have a situationship going on. She seems to be open to them getting back together. I, to be honest, don't understand what the heck he said. If anyone understood what he said on the stage, please write that in the comments, because I was watching it with someone and they were like, what the heck is he saying? Something about going to therapy, something about being triggered. Basically, he said Chris Harrison triggered him by saying fantasy suite. Like, that was the code word for him to have a breakdown and not know how to express his feelings to Astrid anymore. He didn't know where he was. He didn't know how he felt. He didn't know he was in paradise or back home. Everything was a blurb. I'm just having fun with it, guys. But he did say he was triggered by Chris Harrison saying fantasy suite. And apparently that sent him into a tailspin. Guys, I don't know. Something sounds funny and fishy. But okay. Go on with that story, guys. But Astrid was open to that excuse or reason or whatever that was. And she still is open her heart to him. I'm sorry. Sorry, I have to pause it. But anyway, open, she's open to this. So they're off into the sunset too. Hopefully happy. Last but not least, guys, the moment we've all been waiting for, we're going to talk about Kamil and Annaliese and their situation. So apparently, from what I heard on the stage, they've been going pretty good or pretty okay. There were some visits back and forth. Then a couple of weeks ago, Annaliese got a little bit more of a backbone. I'm not saying she doesn't have one, but she stood up to herself to him and was looking at this a little bit more logically. And she said, look, I'm not getting what I need from this situation. And she was going to break up with him. But then he backpedaled and it was like, oh, I'm going to shape up. I'm going to shape up, you know, blah, blah, blah. And apparently he did not. So then fast forward, we get to the stage after, you know, everything and the rose and the reunion. And he breaks up with her on the stage. And we all feel for her because this is something that clearly she was not expecting. And it was something that seemed quite insensitive on his part. And I don't know the motivation behind it, why he did it. There's definitely speculation regarding, but I'm just going to stick to what happened. And it was handled very poorly on his part and very graciously on Annalise's. She composed herself. She said she didn't have any words. She left the stage, but then she came back with fire. You could see the camera shooting to Tia, encouraging her. And she told him exactly what we now know about the potential breakup 2 weeks prior, and him being like, no, no, no. And her being patient with him just for him to turn it upside down on her. And I just thought that was just in such poor taste. I thought he could have handled it differently. Seemed like Annaliese was really trying. She said that she sent his mother flowers. She booked an airplane ticket for him. And he said, I'm trying to be a man about it. I don't know who he learned manhood from. But breaking up with someone who was sincerely trying and who tried to do it quietly 2 weeks ago with you and pretty much kept it going in order for you to have your national / potentially international moment and break up with her is not being a man about it. It's just not. It's being something else about it. It really is. And I just feel like this was so messed up. And a lot of people feel for her. And it's one thing to have that breakup behind closed doors or however it takes place. But to have it on a stage like this when it could have totally been avoided. And for you to say, I'm trying to be a man about it. That's just, it's not cool. He totally did this the wrong way. And I really feel for Annaliese. You know, I'm not here to make him seem like the bad guy, but he behaved badly in that moment. He didn't need to go about it that way. And I hope that other people can learn something from this in regards to how to handle a breakup. Apparently they were supposed to spend the week together. She already bought his plane ticket back, so he's good. But he booked the Airbnb. So she's concerned with where she's going to stay. She doesn't have a place to stay. And it was just messed up. So she's concerned like, oh, I don't know where I'm going to stay. And Chris Harrison's like, well, you got all these people who love you. Give her some love. See you next season on The Bachelor. It was sad. It was sad, guys. And I felt for Annaliese. And where does she go from here? Where does Annaliese go from here? I don't normally incorporate other news, outside news into these analysis that I do, but I did see a clip from a prominent entertainment news source. And what happened is that Annaliese seems to still be kind of open to the possibility of Kamil and her getting together, which I thought was not a good move. Post the breakup, they've actually been in contact, which I don't think is a good move either. I think after something like that, her being in contact with him is only going to confuse her emotions and not going to allow her to properly process this breakup. Now, after properly processing the breakup or spending some time apart, if they do decide to get back together, that's different. But having that bad of a breakup in that way, and then continuing to converse and just be in contact with this guy like that is not a healthy way of going about it. In this interview, she also mentioned about what's best for her mental health. And Annaliese, like, if you're listening or a friend of hers is listening, you've got to look out for yourself and you've got to look out for what's right for you. This is very manipulative, and the back and forth and coming back is just not a good look. You need to take time for yourself. And you need to process your own feelings. However you do that, with whatever help that you do get for that, whether it be a friend or a family member or just doing whatever you need to do. But keeping in contact with this guy and continuing these conversations, a breakup does not take 30 days. It does not take 40 days or 2 weeks. The breakup was done. Now it's time for you to heal and pick up the pieces. In all honesty, I also did not like the interviewer saying, oh, I wish you the best, whether it be, you'll find your special guy, whether it be with Kamil or someone else. Don't even say that. Why are you encouraging her? Why are you encouraging her to potentially give her hope to be with this guy when he treated her that way? I mean, it's your duty as being in that setting as a journalist just to kind of, you know, just keep it objective, especially when, if you're going to add your hope for her and your opinion, which is what I would see that as, don't do it in a way that would encourage a potentially harmful interaction. And again, we don't know what type of interaction she's having with Kamil, but the mere fact that they were broken up in this brutal and televised and just not good way. I don't even know how to describe it, guys. Don't encourage that. I really feel for Annaliese. And Annaliese, you know, you deserve so much better. Just like all of us sometimes, if not all of us, but just in general, sometimes you may accept less than the best, but you have to at some point open your eyes and say, you know what, I deserve better than this. And I'm not going to keep the door open to less than what's best for me. And again, if they get back together, hey, some couples have, you know, gone through much worse and broken up, gotten back together, broken up, gotten back together. I'm not saying that's the healthiest way to go about things, in that, you know, everyone has to have a perfect courtship or union or dating life, but you have to just be careful in this regard. And just the outpouring of encouragement I see for her is big and it's huge. But moreover than that, just people really feeling for her, and I feel for her. And so I just took the rest of this time to talk about that, because it's sad, but it's something that needed to be discussed. And I hope that she finds happiness in herself, in and of herself. And then whoever walks through that door, that relationship door for her, he's got to be on point. And I hope that she is healthy enough to recognize that good, true love and that real love, because she deserves it. And we all do. So I hope that she just takes some time away from that guy and just heals and, you know, realizes and what she wants and reflects and moves on into a better path. So that's what I would say to Annaliese, and I hope that she recognizes that she deserves more. Well, anyway, that was fun, and thank you so much for listening, watching, and subscribing. And I'm so excited to, in all honesty, guys, it's just been such a good run. I don't know if I'm going to cover The Bachelor. I haven't decided about that yet. It's been a lot, and I may want to continue to do the Bachelor series, but I may be taking this channel a little different direction as well, with some of the content, and come out with some other videos as I had originally earmarked for this channel, but please stay tuned. I may cover The Bachelor, I may not. If you have a strong opinion about that, let me know in the comments. I have been enjoying doing this. I am still not sure how I feel about them picking Colton, and I have some other goodies in store that I want to do a video on as well. Trying to think if I should be on camera or just continue this. I really do need to get like a better camera, because I would like for everything to be crisp and sharp and nice. Sorry if you hear the construction outside, but yeah, so let me know what your thoughts on about that. This is a little longer video. I might chop some things up, but yeah, it's been so fun, and I'm so excited that I call it analysis, because that's what these videos are. I think sometimes when we see these life situations and relationships happening on screen, it really gives us an opportunity to kind of examine and reflect if anything mirrors that of our own lives, and to really use that as an opportunity to identify if that's the case and make better changes. So that was pretty much how my reviews, which I call analysis, have been going from the beginning, and have really taken a turn even more so in more recent videos. But please check out the other content on the channel. And I'm so happy that we got a chance to be together for Bachelor in Paradise. And I am looking forward to you listening, watching, subscribing, and enjoying future content on this.